Good day, everyone. I am Rosamae Casaljay, and we are going to talk about the Module 7, the Discourse Theory. Let us define first what is discourse. Discourse, it is the technical term for conversation. It is also derived from the Latin word discursus, which means running to and from, and denotes written and spoken communication. Another definition of discourse is it is a conversation or text, collection of text or conversations, a shared way of talking or creating text, codes, languages, ways of speaking of a topic. So, discourse refers to a structured conversation or written communication that conveys meaning and context. Discourse also refers to the use of language beyond single sentences. It is used to share ideas, insights, and information. Another thing is discourse is a way of communicating ideas and information, often through spoken or written language. One example of discourse is a debate where participants discuss different viewpoints on social issues and presenting arguments and counter arguments. Another is a classroom discussion where students share their thoughts. For example, in a book they read is an example of discourse. In a discourse, a language was used, may it be the mother tongue, first language, or second language. So we have here the levels of language, which taken from Pullman Craig, 2008, Revealing Minds, page 168. So it shows there the phonology, morphology, semantics, syntax, and discourse. Phonology for word sounds, morphology for word parts and meaning, semantics for word meanings and use, syntax for complete sentences and structure, discourse for multiple sentences such as paragraphs, stories, chapters, or books. So the language actually shapes the way ideas that are expressed, influences understanding, and facilitates also the exchange of thought and feelings in a discourse. Now let us move on to discourse competence. When we say discourse competence, it is knowing how to interpret the larger context and how to construct longer stretches of language. Additionally, when we say discourse competence, it is also the ability to effectively produce and understand coherent spoken or written communication. And that includes the organization of ideas, also the use of appropriate language, and following social norms in conversation. It also asks how are words, phrases, sentences put together to create conversations, speeches, email messages, newspaper articles. Okay, so we have here an illustration of a communicative competence. As you can see, we have linguistic competence, pragmatic competence, intercultural competence, strategic competence, which lead to discourse competence. So according to some studies, discourse competence is interconnected with several other types of competence. We have, for linguistic, it provides the grammatical and vocabulary knowledge necessary for coherent communication. For pragmatic, we have competence to understand the social context and implications of language use. For strategic competence, we have to navigate communication challenges. And for intercultural competence, we have it enhances discourse competence by enabling effective communication across diverse cultural backgrounds, ensuring that exchanges are respectful and meaningful. So the discourse competence is a crucial aspect of communicative competence. It is because it focuses on the ability to organize and connect ideas coherently in communication. Now we have the discourse analysis. When we say discourse analysis, it is an approach to the study of language that demonstrates how language shapes reality and reveals dominant ways of thinking and acting. Additionally, when we say discourse analysis, it also considers both the teacher's and learner's contributions. So, when an individual has the ability to understand written or spoken communication, he or she can be able to analyze one's discourse. So, it is important because it helps us understand how language shapes social interactions and also to uncovers cultural meaning that enabling more effective communication and critical engagement with text. In a discourse analysis, there are factors, language, context, and practice. So these elements or factors, these highlight that meaning is constructed through the interplay of these elements that shows how language reflects and shapes social realities. So it allows for a deeper understanding of how discourse function in different settings and impacts individuals and communities. Okay, so let us have the discourse analysis types. We have four: the textual analysis, critical discourse analysis, conversational analysis, and pragmatic analysis. So let us have the first one, which is textual analysis examines the written part of the discourse, or it is generally used to describe the linguistic features of written text. And also, we can also examine here the transcript of any conversation. So with this method, we can reveal word choices for our style of expression. The second one, we have the critical discourse analysis, which the focus of this type is the language usage in the construction of power relations. So here, we can examine the language usage of, for example, teachers toward students, and also bosses toward their employees, and politicians toward the public. Is for conversational analysis, it is the analysis studies daily conversation. So, for example, what is your speaking and listening frequency, and also how much body language do you use, or how much eye contact do you have or do you make. The fourth type, we have the pragmatic analysis. So this is the study of language in context. For example, saying someone's name while getting angry and shouting someone's name with joy are two situations that have the same meaning in the literal sense of the word, but have different consequences in the pragmatic sense. So these types were taken from Effie Atakan. Now we have the discourse theory. So it is defined as a framework that examines the role of language and communication in shaping social reality, that emphasizing the contingent nature of reality constructed through power and knowledge practices within society. So it explores the ways in which discourse influences our understanding of the world and how it constructs meaning within various contexts. And also it emphasized the relationship between language. The discourse theory was conceptualized by Evan Lane Hutch. wherein the idea that language learning evolves out of learning how to carry on conversations, and discourse analysis is exceedingly important in the teaching of second language. So it is among the theories that came into birth and developed rapidly in the past decades with the emergence of second language acquisition worldwide. Additionally, some authors proposes that in our daily activities, the way we speak and write is shaped by the structures of power in our society, and that because our society is defined by struggle and conflict, so our discourses reflect and create conflicts. Now we have the triangle of discourse theory that connects power, knowledge, and subjectivity, that illustrates how language shapes social dynamic. So the first one, we have the power, um, reflects the ability to influence and control through discourse, while knowledge shows how our understandings are constructed within a specific context, while subjectivity, it highlights how individual and collective identities are formed through these interactions, no? So it emphasizes the interconnectedness of these three elements in shaping our realities. So much of the research on this theory is related to foreign language acquisition of Halliday and Cherry and second language acquisition of Hatch and Long. So let us define first what is language acquisition. So it is the process by which humans acquire the ability to comprehend and produce language either as their first or second or third language. Alright, let us differentiate the two. The first one, we have the foreign language acquisition. So it is most often studied outside of the natural language environment. So it occurs when a language is learned in a setting where it is not widely spoken. For example, a student in the United States learning French primarily through classes without much exposure to French speakers outside the classroom. The second one is the second language acquisition. It is acquired in the environment where it is actually spoken on an everyday basis by a certain group of the population. So, on the other hand, no, it happens when a language is learned in an environment where it is actively spoken, such as a Spanish speaker learning English while living in an English speaking country, so allowing for daily practice and interaction. According to some researchers, like Michael Halliday, he studied his own child and concluded that the development of the formal linguistic devices grows out of the interpersonal uses to which language is put. So this statement suggests that the development of language in a child emerges from the social interactions and practical uses of language in their environment. So this means that children learn to use language through meaningful communication with others, like through their parents. So it indicates that the way language is used in everyday interactions shapes a child's linguistic development. According to Cherry, through communication with other people, children accomplish actions in the world and develop the rules of language structure and use. So according to some writers, it means that children learn language by talking and interacting with others. Through these conversations also, they figure out how language works and how to use it to achieve things in their world. So this process helps them understand both the rules of language and how to use it in everyday situations. Okay, when we say communication, it is actually treated as the matrix of linguistic knowledge, such that if you want to acquire a second language, the main ways to learn is by making a lot of interaction with the target language speaker. Okay, next we have the main principles of discourse theory. Alright, so we have the first principle of discourse theory is second language acquisition follows a natural route in syntactical development. So what do we mean by this? The SLA followed a universal route largely uninfluenced by learner's age, context of learning, and learner's L1 background. So people often progress through stages of grammatical development in a way that resembles how they learned their first language. So this natural route reflects the idea that language learning is an organic process that is shaped by exposure and practice. Additionally, SLA controlling factor is the faculty for language that all human beings possess, which is also responsible for L1 acquisition. So it refers to the innate ability that all humans have for learning languages, often referred to us as language faculty or faculty for language. So this faculty enables individuals to acquire their first language naturally and intuitively during early childhood. Alright, to establish the existence of a natural route in SLA development, the following research studies were conducted. The first one is cross-sectional research, and the second one is longitudinal studies. Okay, so for cross-sectional research, so it is focused on morpheme studies, which carried out to investigate the order of a range of grammatical functions in the speech of L2 learners. So here, subjects were asked to describe a series of pictures for which researchers identified items of L2 which were obligatory. So points were assigned on the accuracy of the learner in using those items in their description. So from here, an accuracy order was established by the researchers depending on how accurate an item was used, and the accuracy order was translated to acquisition order. So the more accurately an item was used, the earlier was acquired. So it connotes that the researchers found that the order remained the same among the different learners. These studies found that the acquisition of L2 syntax involves a series of transitional stages that were more or less universal. So these studies focused on grammatical subsystems like negations and interrogations. So interpreting these empirical studies, a distinction is made between sequence of development and order of development. So the overall development profile is universal. Next is being the product of creative construction. All L2 learners pass through. One is basic syntax, which talks about the arrangement of words. Next is the variant word order, which is the rearrangement of words. Next is morphological development, which is the word formation and complex sentence structure. The second principle is native speakers adjust their speech in order to negotiate meaning with non-native speakers. So, one example is this. So, native speakers often modify their language when communicating with non-native speakers to help ensure understanding. So, they might simplify their vocabulary, speak more slowly, or use clear sentences. Okay, so the discourse theory emphasizes interaction and discourse. In natural setting, what provide opportunities for L2 learners to engage in discourse are interaction with native speakers who have a role play enabling the non-native speaker to communicate. So native speaker speech adjustments are often referred as foreigner talk. So characterized by modification in both input and discourse. So for input, it is exaggerated enunciation, greater overall loudness, the use of full forms rather than contractions, and for discourse, expansions, repetitions, classifications, and paraphrasing. Okay, so we have here the foreigner talk functions or the native speaker role, an aid to communication, a bond builder between the native speaker and non-native speaker, and implicit teaching mode. And for non-native speaker, he or she uses strategies to maximize the potential for communicating in the L2. He or she can topic switching, word coinage, and mime. So together, the native speaker and non-native speaker strive to overcome the communicative difficulties which are always likely to arise as a result of the learner's limited to L2 resources. So the negotiation of meaning between the native speaker and non-native speaker makes the input more comprehensible. We have the conversational strategies. So the first one is the frequency of specific syntactic forms in the speech directed at the learner influences the language forms that he or she produces. Meaning, the first structures that the L2 learner acquires are those that he or she is exposed to most frequently. The second is we have the L2 learner acquires commonly occurring formulas and then later analyzes this into their component parts. So, for example, the ready-made chunks of speech are provided the learners through interaction. So later, the learner breaks down these chunks of speech into their component parts and in the process augments his interlanguage system. So for the third strategy is the learner utterances are constructed by borrowing chunks of speech from the preceding discourse. So one example is this. The teacher says, look at the next picture. Pupil says, box. A box, yes. And the pupil added, a box of bananas. So the learner is helped to construct sentences vertically. So the last utterance of the pupil in this exchange was constructed vertically, meaning by borrowing a chunk of the preceding discourse, a box, and adding to it the word bananas. The fourth principle is the natural root is the result of learning how to hold conversations. Hatch suggests that interaction determines the root of SLA. Hatch says also, one learns how to do conversations, one learns how to interact, and out of these interactions, syntactic structures are developed. So, in other words, the more the children interact verbally, the more they develop an understanding of how to form sentences and use syntax correctly, as these structures emerge from real communication rather than formal teaching alone. Next, we have this one. So, the given example shows The progression from baby to old age in human development shows that the journey of human development highlights how conversation skills evolve naturally. So it is shaped by ongoing learning and interaction throughout life. Okay, so we have here another picture that shows a conversation or showing a conversation. Next, we have conversation, a mode of discourse. So, conversations are excellent examples of the interactive and interpersonal nature of communication. For some writers, conversation signifies a specific interactive form of communication characterized by spontaneous back and forth exchanges between participants. Right. So the picture shows that conversations are cooperative ventures according to Hatch and Long. So it means that engaging in a conversation involves collaboration between participants, fostering mutual understanding and shared meaning. Now let us move on to the rules of conversation. So some writers said that we need the rules of conversation to ensure clear communication and also to promote mutual understanding and create a respectful and productive dialogue between participants. So the rules are attention getting, topic nomination, topic development, and topic shifting and avoidance, and topic termination. So one is attention getting. So have the attention of the hearer or the audience, and the attention getting conventions within each language, the verbal and nonverbal, need to be carefully assimilated by learners. So, without knowledge and use of conventions, second language learners may be reluctant to participate in a conversation because of their own inhibitions. The second rule is topic nomination. So, once speakers have secured the hearer's attention, their task becomes one of topic nomination. So, Grice noted that certain conversational maxims enable the speaker to nominate and maintain a topic of conversation. So, there are few explicit rules for accomplishing topic nomination in a language. One is quantity. So you're going to say only as much as is necessary for understanding the communication. The second is quality. Say only what is true. And relevance. Say only what is relevant or significant. And manner. Be clear to what you are speaking. The third rule is topic development. So, use conventions of turn taking to accomplish various functions of language. So, once a topic is nominated, participants in a conversation then embark on topic development. So, aside from turn taking, topic development also involves clarification, shifting, avoidance, and interruption. The fourth rule is topic shifting and avoidance. So it may be affected through verbal and nonverbal signals, and also interruptions are a typical feature of all conversations. So language users here learn how to interrupt, yes, politely. And next, for the last, we have the topic termination. So it is an art that even native speakers of a language have difficulty in mastering at times. And also, each language has verbal and nonverbal signals for termination. Now we have the implications to teaching. So the first one is the classroom teacher should encourage interaction among learners. The second is it is important for teachers to be acutely aware of the rules of conversation in the second language. So the teacher should be guided by the modern concept that one learns how to do conversation, one learns how to interact verbally, and out of this interaction, syntactic structure are developed. Next is discourse analysis shows that many classrooms interactions follow an IRF. the initiate-response feedback pattern, which restricts the opportunity to negotiate meaning. Moreover, the implication to the teacher is the teacher will now create situations in the classroom that will allow interaction and communication among learners. And this could be possible through games, problem solving activities, and role playing. Now we have the keynotes. So the discourse theory does not address the nature of the learner strategies responsible for second language acquisition. And also, the root of development is explained in terms of interaction, and the external processes, those which can be observed in face-to-face interaction. So that's all for my report. Thank you for listening.